Why did you want to be a Texan?
I would say closer to home, closer to where I'm from, and the opportunity here is like no other. The team here is like no other. I would say it's a super team, whenever I can work my way into that role. But it's a super team here, everything's already in place. We got the coaches, we got the players, we got the quarterback, receivers, defense. What don't you have here? Running back, we got Joe. So, everything's here. I just want to play my part.
And they weren't thought of that way 2 years ago.
I think a lot of people would say that.
Joe, don't think I didn't notice you shaking your head right there.
I know what's coming next.
As Cam Akers said, super team. Just because you're high and mighty with your cute little Chicago Bears getting their Super Bowl victory last night over our beloved Houston Texans. They're going to swarm all over your ass week 2, bro.
All I can think about is Vince Young.
Yeah, well, Vince Young saying that versus more accomplished NFL player. I'm just kidding. Cam Akers saying that. Come on.
I mean, he's not wrong.
I mean, C.J. Stroud is on a super team, and for all those who are mad about him being rated 81 in Madden and being behind Kirk Cousins and Tua Tagovailoa in Madden ratings, remember, he's on a super team.
Super team.
Per Cam Akers, who played very well last night, and we shouldn't be making fun of him for this.
Yeah, I know.
Team comment.
It looked good. It's like, because I hear the Vince Young when he said it when he was on the Eagles, and I'm like, well, Vince, you were, the third-string quarterback, I think it was, when he said that. So it's just, I like to hear that from my starters, not my backup.
Eagles backup quarterbacks have said some interesting things the last couple of years. I think Marcus Mariota, when he joined the Eagles last year, said something along the lines of, I've got things to show Jalen Hurts after he had just won the MVP.
I remember
what?
that.
Like how to disappear from your team while you're on a reality TV show that's actually spotlighting you as a backup quarterback in the NFL after Desmond Ridder took your job?
But, yeah, Cam was good last night, and I wouldn't say he found a spot for himself on the roster last night, but it opened my eyes to the conversation, because when we've talked about it in the past, it's just like he's just a body. But the way he looked last night, I'm more open to the idea of now, like, could he actually be an actual depth piece to this roster?
The real question is, are they going to keep him at the expense of somebody who can play special teams or something like that? Because I think the fact that you saw Dare Agumbawale come in at running back first and do pretty well on those couple of drives that he was in there for. He's a guy who can play special teams too. So he's, I think, got a roster spot. The fact that Akers came in before Jawar Jordan, because at training camp practice, it's been generally Jordan before Akers. Akers was usually one of the last running backs in there. I think that is interesting, but again, it's the first preseason game of the year. There's only so much that you can take away from it. I will say the 3 guys that I thought shined the most, I'm not somebody who specifically focuses on the trenches. Davis Mills, who we talked about, he looked pretty good in that game. And I liked what I saw from Calen Bullock, though I didn't like his DJ Swearinger moment where he forced a fumble and he started dancing and the ball pops out of a pile behind him and it gets recovered by the Chicago Bears. But he had a nice touchdown-saving tackle. I felt like Bullock looked pretty good, and it'll be interesting to see if by the end of the year he's getting some real reps at safety. He is very, very tall and long and rangy out there, and last year the Texans, as far as center fielders go with their safeties, they had some rough plays last year. As far as guys who struggled, linebacker Jamal Hill, who was number 56, I only noticed him doing bad things. Everyone who was trying to cover Colin Johnson, he was making them all look like fools. D'Amico Ryans, after last night's defeat at the hand of the Chicago Bears in a game that only lasted, what was it, 47, 45, 43 minutes or so. He had this to say about 2 starters, probably the only 2 starters that we saw regularly in training camp that played in this game. At left guard, Kenyon Green, and at center, Juice Scruggs. Here is the head coach of your Houston Texans.
Every player is on a different track when it comes to reps and how they're playing. So wanted to see Juice and Kane get out there and get meaningful reps in, and just so they can continue to learn and play together. I think when you get the live reps, there's no better teacher than getting the live reps. So it was good for Juice to get out and get reps.
He's right on that front. I mean, one of the things that I don't like to focus on the offensive line and the defensive line when I'm out there at training camp practice, because I can't see what the hell's going on. I think anyone who's telling you otherwise is kind of talking out of their ass. But D'Amico Ryans, when I asked him about, like, hey, like, how do you see this going right now, he kind of talked his way around it by saying, like, well, there's a give and take, and is everyone really going 100% there? But there was a practice a couple of days later, and I forget which day that it was, where D'Amico like tap danced around, like talking about the offensive line, and they have been struggling to this point in training camp. So again, you're going up against some backups for the Bears. It was important, I think, for Green and for Scruggs to get out there and actually get some real offensive line versus defensive line reps. I believe D'Amico also said some complimentary things about those two today at the Texans press conference on Monday. They had a Zoom call. So with those things being said, hey, good, it's trending in the right direction in the game, because the offense has had some struggles through training camp practices 1 through 10.
Yeah, it's probably the only starters that should play in every single preseason game. Maybe not the last one. Is Kenyon Green, Juice Scruggs, specifically Kenyon Green. Like he's played so little. He's been pretty poor when he's been on the field. But after what happened last year, where he was hurt in training camp, and he was hurt the whole time, and they were going to try to just work through the injury, but ended up knocking him out after the first preseason game,
something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So he's just played so little. You need him out there because this team, first of all, they have lack of depth on the offensive line, but just a lack of experience at the left guard and center position. So I was glad to see those two guys play. Like, I get why Lassiter didn't need to play in their mind last night. I would expect him to be out there again. But with the interior guys, it just made all the sense in the world for them to be actually participating in this game and being the only starters to do so.
You mentioned Lassiter there. I am nervous about them putting either Derek Stingley Jr. or Kamari Lassiter out there at any point, because the depth in the secondary, it is, in my opinion, lacking. And I've pushed a couple of times for them to go after some sort of veteran, whether it's safety depth with Justin Simmons and Quandre Diggs still available, or at cornerback. I mean, Stephon Gilmore, Defensive Player of the Year not too long ago, who played pretty well for the Cowboys last year, he's still available too. I feel like those are doors at the very least worth opening and saying, hey, what's up, dog? How's it going? Bringing them in for a workout or something like that, because after that, like the corner unit that we have seen come in after the starters at training camp practice has featured Mike Ford.
Don't want that.
No, I don't. I don't want to see that.
I mean, with Stingley, like, it's...
And he's had all those issues.
Exactly. You try to be glass half full with injuries. Like, he's
a great player when he's out there, but he's great ball skills, but he gets hurt a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he missed a start of last year. Like, he's just missed a ton of time. His injury history goes back to LSU. So, like, this isn't someone with a small sample size of injuries. It's rather large. And I just, like, week 2, whatever, you're playing a good team, and Kamari Lassiter and Okudah are your two corners out there, or maybe it's Desmond King factors into that somehow on the outside. I doubt it, but it's not, the depth is not there at the cornerback position. I'm with you. I'd love for them to add a cornerback. I know we've talked about this a little bit, but like Henderson is just a non-factor. He doesn't exist to me at this point. Like, I don't even know if he played last night. I had to keep looking at the depth chart. I kept seeing all these numbers and trying to figure out like who was who as the game was happening.
I'm glad that I waited until this morning to watch the game, because that way I could fast forward through everything, but also feel comfortable like rewinding on the Fubo TV, because I was doing the same thing, like double checking, like, wait, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Who's this guy? Even when I'm out at training camp practice, this is the thing that's been driving me crazy. And again, this is like classic Big J journalist complains about something nobody else cares about, but it is really hard to see what's going on often at training camp, because it's like the players know that we're watching, and they probably don't, but this is me in my head thinking that they do, because they always like slowly angle in a way where you get to see less and less and less over practice. And that's why I think it's funny, like there are some people that are out there that are like saying, like, yeah, when I saw the trenches, oh man, it's going to be key. And then they're like asked to be like specific about it, and then they like don't say anything about it. I don't know. I don't get it. But it's valuable to be out there.